certainly been a tough year for many South Africans, but there are warnings that there are tougher economic times ahead. In fact, a massive petrol price hike is on the cards for the months ahead, which is expected to have a knock-on effect on food prices. There are also concerns that this will lead to a surge in freight rates, costs that will ultimately be passed on to already over-indebted consumers like you and myself. So to, unpack all these developments and place it at least in perspective for the freight and logistics industry in the country, let's bring in Sheina Gokool, who's the Director of Logistics Enterprise operating in the SADC region here in Africa. And Sheina, it's great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for making time. Let's begin perhaps with the basics. I mean, how large a bearing does something like a fuel price hike have on things like freight rates?
Thank you, Ayanda. I think it's important to note that freight haulers will have no choice but to increase their rates in order to remain in business. And what we've already seen in the past couple of months is that this could be the final straw for many freight haulers who have already shut their doors. And some have been battling even pre-COVID, so it really is a determining factor for many businesses now.
And my understanding is that typically when there is a massive price hike like the one we're anticipating, there's actually a lull in transportation because a lot of the transportation companies want to actually renegotiate these rates. Help us understand the impact that this lull will have on things like the supply chain.
Well, just to put some context behind it, at the moment there's a huge infrastructural deficiency that's already hampering the productivity levels of many freight businesses in South Africa. So when a fuel hike comes into play, those costs have to be shouldered by the transporter but then passed on to the end user. And we've already seen a number of studies have shown that and highlighted that logistics costs are a huge driving factor for economic productivity. So I think the next 2 months for the consumer are going to be almost unbearable.
Sure. Not the kind of news I think anybody is hoping for. Are you able to speak facts and figures with us, Sheina? I mean, how big a percent at the very least do you reckon things like food prices are likely to increase because of the domino effect of this petrol price hike?
Well, in the freight sector, it's unknown to us at this stage because we haven't been able to pass on those rate increases as yet. It is a competitive industry. We do try, but unfortunately we are at the mercy of many shipping conglomerates and the port, and it's all dependent on whether our clients are going to be shouldering those costs with us at this time of the year, which honestly it's a far stretch at this point.
Yeah. You speak about shouldering the cost or the burden, so to speak. I mean, in what ways can government, for instance, intervene here? I'm thinking things like, taking part of the cost in some way.
Well, I think the most obvious one would be